I'll call together all the prison officers and
I wouldn't do that. Particularly as Officer Bennett is actively encouraging it.
She didn't give a name.
I presume you have proof of this.
I most certainly have.
You don't have to handle a rabble day after day. If I did, I'd do a downside better job than you do.
Mrs. Travers was an emotionally and mentally disturbed woman when she was admitted to prison. I felt pity for her, but I did not, and I do not love her.
If Barbara goes ahead with her threat and sets fire to the cell, she could die. If she dies, it will be your fault.
One yellow metal watch.
It's gone.
One yellow metal watch.
No one has ever found fault in the way I do my job except you.
Dear God, you can hardly call it finding fault when I have clear evidence that you stood by and watched one prisoner beat another one.
What evidence? Just the word of one of those sluts?
That is enough. I intend to report this.
Hello there everyone and welcome to the video. My name's SerenitySoloREACTS and here we are with Prisoner Cell Block H, episode 24. I'm sure it's 24. It'll tell you in the title if it isn't. So, yes, we have got Barbara in her cell, threatening to burn the whole place down. How the whole place would burn when it's brick, I don't know, but her cell will go at least. They're keeping all the prisoners in their cells, even though they're afraid the prison's going to burn down. That is not a very clever thing to do, in my opinion. Is Barbara going to give up? Is she going to crack up? Is she going to, starve to death in that cell? Well, I think they could at least get Jean to go and have a word with her, or some kind of psychiatrist or something. I think this is going to end up in her being transferred to a secure, like a mental health unit or something like that. Whatever was the equivalent back in the late 70s. I am enjoying this. I don't think this would have gone twice weekly yet, but I hope you're looking forward to that. We'll get more episodes out, whittle them down quicker. But I am enjoying it a lot and I hope you are too, and if you haven't subscribed and you enjoyed the video, can I please ask you to do so? I would really appreciate it. Also a comment letting me know what you think and ways I can improve as well if you want. And on Dailymotion as well, a follow. Australians can only watch it on Dailymotion, so if you're Australian and you're over there and you like Prisoner Cell Block H, please give it a follow, I really appreciate it. And to my Patreon members, it is you that is bringing the content to me to allow me to bring the content straight back to you. Thank you all ever so much. I love you lots no matter what tier you are. So with that, let's get into episode 24. Question mark.
I don't know. I'm lost without your mother.
God, the hood took ages to go off there. Sorry about that.
I can't do that.
Please don't send me away, Dad.
Sweetheart, I don't want to make your life even more miserable than it already is.
You should go and see Mum, Dad. She's very lonely.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Barbara, let me in.
I could hear her say that.
Leave me alone.
Before she even said it.
To sleep tonight.
Why aren't you in your cell? Didn't you hear the bell?
I can't get in.
What do you mean you can't get in? Who's in there?
It's Barbara. She's
gone back
herself in.
Listen, Davidson, this is Miss Bennett.
Barbara, I'll screw.
You've got exactly 1 minute to open up this door and let me in.
You try anything, Vera, and I'll set fire to this mattress and burn the whole place down, me included.
He's just a spoilt brat looking for attention. What do you propose to do? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing? But how?
We'll leave Barbara exactly where she is. She's had a very easy life all these years. Going hungry for a few days is something she's never tried. And I really don't think her convictions are stronger than her stomach.
I really hope she's right. Because if she's not, this can go extremely, extremely wrong. So it's turning back to normal. Will an apology work? They locked him in the cells, locked him in.
Doesn't last one day in that cell.
They could have all burnt to death.
No, have you ever read The Count of Monte Cristo?
No. If it isn't in Classics Illustrated, I haven't read it.
No, she isn't back to normal.
I'd smack her in the mouth if I were you. Look, love, if you don't out-tough her, she's going to walk all over you.
It's creatures like her that are responsible for Barbara barricading herself in her cell.
Who are you calling a creature?
Shut up, Doreen.
Well, Barbara can lock herself in there for as long as she likes, but she's still got to face the inevitable. Sooner or later, she'll have to come out, and when she does, she gets it both ways. You see Vera Bennett letting her get away with it.
That Bennett woman's got to realise that she's the main one that Barbara's hiding from.
That's not going to stop our Vera from giving her a hard time when she does come out.
You sound as if you're looking forward to it.
Well, that's the way things are, love. And if you know what's good for you, you won't try and play Crusaders either. Got it?
Roberts?
Is she going to end up getting bashed
wants to see you before lunch.
for trying to do the right thing? Oh, let's not go back to Jean's office, please. Not with that
Okay,
picture.
so they're only factory jobs. But they are jobs.
Well, I'm sure you've done the best you can.
Better than best, Mr. Warner. Lynn's got a choice. There's the shoe factory or the electrical works.
Yes, but we're country folk after all, and I'm not sure our Lynn will be real happy working in a factory.
Well, she's not exactly
Well,
at
there it
home
is.
here in jail, is she? Have you any idea how difficult it is to get a job, any job, for a prison inmate?
I didn't have much trouble.
I beg your pardon?
Well, it's a matter of who you know, really, isn't it?
I don't think we're communicating.
Well, an old army mate of mine, Sid Butterfield, he runs a nursery about a mile away from here, and he's agreed to help out.
I don't know if that'd be entirely satisfactory.
But why?
What's with the echo?
Well, there's a matter of supervision.
The
I mean, at
echo.
least in a factory, she has a foreman to keep an eye on her. A nursery, it's a bit of your wide open spaces, isn't it?
Oh, you could do with some of that around here.
Yeah, I guess so.
You needn't worry about supervision. Sid's a tough old bird, and he won't take any look from anyone.
Well, I will think about it, Mr. Warner.
Why don't you go down there and check it out yourself?
All right, I'll do exactly that.
Right. I won't take up any more of your valuable time.
And a dress would help.
Do you have to go back, Dad?
I'm afraid so, love. I've got 40 acres of sorghum that'll rot in the ground unless they get the harvester through it.
Well, we can't lose 40 acres of sorghum now, can we?
But we can't blast.
Oh, Dad, I'll never be able to thank you for all the help you've been. And I'll never stop feeling sorry for all the trouble I've caused you. And Mum.
Well, you'd better stop. We can't have you moping around the house the rest of your life.
Oh, no, really?
Now, your mother gets out of the hospital on Friday. And the doctor says she's really on the mend. Also, I spoke to that social worker you've got here about the job at Sid's place.
Do you think she'll approve it?
Oh, once she gets over having her nose put out of joint, I think she might. No, she's not too bad, really.
So, well, that's it, isn't it, really?
It?
12 months. 12 months out of my life for being an idiot, and then it'll
Won't it be
all
6
be
months
over
for-
like a
for now?
nightmare.
And that's the way we want it to be. We've always stood by you, your mum and I. We'll always be there, waiting. If you need us.
I was going to say something and I forgot what I was going to
It's all
say.
very well for you to say that, but I've never actually done anything. I find that hard to believe. A woman in your position doing nothing with her life. Well, I didn't want to go to university, and when I married Ken, I just wanted to make a nice, comfortable home for him. Oh, I did the usual things, the P&C committees, tennis with the girls every Thursday, but in terms of your idea of doing something,
That head thing's weird.
there just never seemed to be any need. Well, there certainly is now. If you try and spend time in prison in that frame of mind, you'll just sink lower and lower. Is this your standard pep talk for the troops, Miss Vernon? Because if it is, I suggest you save it for someone far more deserving. Like who, for example? Well, you could try the governor's niece, Barbara Davison. That poor child's locked herself in her cell because the other women are terrorizing the life out of her with the tacit approval of one of your prison officers. What do you mean, approval? Maybe I should say active encouragement. That's a very serious statement, Mrs. Roberts. It's meant to be. Would you come with me now and repeat exactly what you've told me to the governor? I've seen enough of life in here to know that that would be fatal.
It's against the officer, though, not the people.
Well, what if I go to her myself without mentioning you? That's entirely up to you, Miss Vernon.
All I know is that we've already had one suicide in this place, and the way things are going, we could have another.
Barbara always was a difficult child, but I had no idea she'd hold out as long as this.
Haven't we had two? Or attempted?
Isn't there any way in which we can force our way in?
Of course there is, if we want to run the risk of Barbara setting fire to herself and her room.
Well, how else do you expect us to get her out of there? Don't you realise that every hour she's in there increases the contempt the other prisoners already have for us? They'll be saying that if you can't control your own family, what hope have you got of controlling a prison?
Yes. What is it, Miss Vernon? We're in the middle of a most important discussion.
It's about your niece, Mrs. Davison. May I talk to you privately?
Could you give us a couple of minutes, please? This had better be good.
I don't know how good you'll think it is, but I can tell you why your niece is so terrified that she's had to barricade herself in for protection.
What do you mean, protection?
Precisely that. One of the women prisoners is deliberately terrorizing her.
Well, I'll soon put a stop to that. I'll call together all the prison officers and
I wouldn't do that, particularly as Officer Bennett is actively encouraging it.
She didn't give a name.
I presume you have proof of this.
I most certainly have.
May I ask where you're getting your information?
Well, I can't tell you that. But if you talk to Doreen Anderson, you'll find out I'm right.
Would you bring Doreen Anderson to my office at once, please?
Yes, Mrs. Jackson, I didn't do nothing, and I'll get behind in the laundry.
Well, the governor's more important than the laundry.
You think you're tough, do you, Anderson?
Eh?
I beg your pardon, Mrs. Davidson.
Oh, yeah. Beg your pardon,
Frankie
Mrs.
Anderson.
Davidson.
I said you think you're tough, don't you? Frankie was tough, wasn't she?
Did she have a funeral?
And now she's dead.
Or did they just leave it to decay at the side of the road?
How many more people do you want to die before you stop this ridiculous masquerade?
I never killed no one. It was that cop.
Have you any idea of the damage you've caused? If Barbara goes ahead with her threat and sets fire to the cell, she could die. If she dies, it will be your fault.
But it wasn't just me. They was all in it.
But Doreen.
All? Well, Bea and Lizzie and all the girls in the laundry, and Miss Bennett was there. She saw what was happening.
Is that what the rooms look like underneath the courts? Like the solicitors' rooms?
Relax.
A bit nicer than I thought.
How are you feeling? You look just beautiful.
I'd be worse than that. I'd be like...
Thank you. Funnily enough, I feel it too. It's amazing the difference between a uniform and real clothes.
Beautiful, but vulnerable.
Is that good?
Oh, yes, for us it's just great. But you see and look sad at the jury, all right?
I would have to try very hard.
You'll be all right.
It's going to be pretty rough, isn't it?
You'll be okay.
Just tell the truth
How
this
bad?
time.
The prosecution will try to convince the jury that you are a cold-blooded and deliberate murderess. And when I get to your side of the story, your husband's attitude to the baby is being in your bed with another woman while you were having that child aborted. Yes. It will be rough. The question is, can you take it?
The Queen and Travers! The Queen and Travers!
A king now.
The Queen and Travers!
Come on, Cat. It's time.
Queen dying's really dated this. It's got its place in history now.
As far as I can see, your behaviour negates any right you may have.
Well, it's easy for you to judge, sitting up here in your nice, safe office. You don't have to handle a rabble day after day.
If I did, I'd do a downside better job than you do.
I've been with the department for years. No one has ever found fault in the way I do my job except you.
Dear God, you can hardly call it finding fault when I have clear evidence that you stood by and watched one prisoner beat another one.
What evidence? Just the word of one of those sluts?
That is enough. I intend to report this.
You can't. You know how these women say anything to get at me? Well, look at Smith and her disgusting friends and the way they tried to frame me on that bashing charge.
And it was Barbara's statement that cleared you. Look at the way you're repaying her.
You told me to treat her like any other prisoner.
If this is the way you treat other prisoners, then you deserve to be reported. I'll let you know what I decide. In the meantime, I'll try to clear up this mess you've made with Barbara. And I want you to stay as far away from her as possible.
With pleasure.
That's not going to be easy. You're going to have to transfer her to another block. Well, one of them.
You're not doing yourself any good, you know. How can you expect us to help when you won't even discuss it sensibly?
Hey, Barbie, you're on the wrong side of the door, love. You know, Beef, all these years I've been in prison, first time I ever seen a screw try to get into a cell.
Haven't you got any work to do?
Yeah, we came to get the dirty washing out of her cell.
Move those women out of here.
She won't even answer now.
Leave me alone, please, mate.
Now, come along, this is not a circus. What about me schedule? I mean, my... Just keep moving me. Oh.
Are they going to be listening?
Barbara, I know you can hear me, dear. So if you don't want to answer, at least listen. I've spoken to Doreen Anderson. She told me what happened. I've had a long and difficult session with Vera Bennett.
Bet she was lying about me.
Let's just say you won't have any more trouble with Officer Bennett. That I can guarantee you.
I don't believe you.
Now listen carefully, Barbara. In all the time we've known each other, have I ever lied to you? During all the difficulties and differences we've had within the family, I can't think of a single time. Can you?
They'll tear me apart, Auntie. The other prisoners, they hate me.
If you come out now and do as Mrs. Jackson tells you, I promise you I'll protect you and no one will hurt you.
No, you can't promise that.
I give you my word.
She has to go to solitary for that. And Vera Bennett comes running down the corridor like Rambo to take her to solitary.
You go with Mrs. Jackson. She'll look after you.
Clean your cell up, love.
How is she?
Well, I took her down to Dr. Miller. He's given her a sedative and she's resting there.
Thank you. Would you like some coffee?
Oh, thank you. Smells good. Come to any decision about Barbara?
I think so. I intend to transfer her as soon as possible.
Oh, that's a bit drastic, isn't it?
You mean it's an admission of failure?
No, I didn't say that.
It is in a way.
She shouldn't have been
She'd
there.
never get any peace with the other prisoners knowing of our relationship. And regardless of what I told her, I know damn well I can't protect her. No, she'd be better off in another prison. And I'd certainly be better off as soon as she leaves.
Well, the other prisoners will come to accept her. In time, they always do.
And during that time, we'd have nothing but trouble.
Pushing drugs, B, really.
Seems such a pity.
It is.
I don't think B would accept her.
I've always tried to run this prison as a place of rehabilitation and reform. Just makes you feel a bit down when you realise you can't really rehabilitate someone as close to you as your own niece. Maybe Vera's right. Stand down and just keep stamping down.
Oh, you can't believe that.
I'll get her transferred as soon as possible.
I've got no sympathy for her, though. She made Monica poof into thin air. She just chucked him in a portal.
I've had some rest this morning.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
May it please the court, I act for Mrs. Travers in this matter.
Very well, Mr. Wilson, you have the court's attention.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as you know, this hearing is the second hearing to do with the facts surrounding the death of one Wayne Travers, the husband of the defendant.
So they went out, they acted to law and order.
Now, we will not attempt to deny that Mrs. Travers killed her husband. We would, however, bring to the attention of the court circumstances and evidence of mitigation, which should affect your assessment of the guilt of the defendant.
The court takes it that the plea of guilty still stands.
Yes, it does, Your Honor, and we will be relying on mitigation. I will bring evidence to show that at the time of the original trial, the defendant was in such a state of emotional turmoil as to preclude her from properly conducting her defense. I will show that the defendant, whilst not willfully perjuring herself, was not of sufficient clarity of mind to have the best regard toward her own interests.
Well, perhaps if you bring to the court's attention the actual facts you intend to bring to back up your assertions.
Yes, I'm coming to that, Your Honor.
Say, let him talk. He'll get to it.
With due dispatch, one hopes.
I will ask the jury to consider the circumstances of the woman whose background, religious, and social beliefs conditioned her to hold the life of a child sacred. I will ask you to understand the mind of such a woman, forced by her husband into aborting the child of their marriage. I would ask you to put yourself into the defendant's place. When, on returning home from hospital, after such a harrowing and traumatic experience, she found her husband in bed, in their marriage bed, with another woman. I would ask you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, to understand what Karen Travers did under extreme provocation.
What's Crime of Passion, I think, in 1979?
And then to ask yourselves, what would I have done?
Divorce the person?
At least understand how Sarah feels.
It's not a matter of how she feels. It's things she might pick up if we stay around here.
What sort of things?
Well, the night before last, I dropped into the club for a drink.
David just wanted to go for a walk.
Ted Matthews was there. Didn't notice me coming in. Busy talking to his cronies about how he'd heard that Sarah was having an affair with Bert Warren. And when we found out about it, she made up this lie about him raping her.
Well,
And you ran him down
we
because
did so well in the last episode.
you thought that he was going to expose Sarah in court. And that is the bloody gospel according to Ted Matthews.
Oh, Ken.
And I wasn't even man enough to punch him in the mouth. You tell me what's right for Sarah. Wait around for that sort of filth to get back to her? Or to make a clean start in Ballarat with Viv?
No contact, Roberts.
Sarah will be all right, especially if you can steal some more time from the business to be with her.
Sold the business.
You what?
A good offer.
Bloody hell.
You've spent years building it up.
Maybe, but it was a damn good price. I was lucky to get it under the circumstances.
In the last episode, he was talking how hard it
Been all
was.
the expense of this, hasn't it?
Oh, quick.
What are you going to do now?
Well, they've offered me a job. It's based in Sydney.
Oh, you're not going to take it.
Not many jobs around for men of my age.
Sydney?
I'm not going to sell the house. It'll be let, furnished. Sarah will be fine with Vivian, and she can spend the school holidays with me. And I can fly down here once a month to visit you, you know.
Tenants? Using my things. Take it back, please.
Better than it being burgled.
Catherine.
Kind of like people.
I'm sure you did what you thought was for the best, Ken.
Or they could put the furniture in storage and sell it let it unfurnished.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
You are Dr. George Barrett, and you conduct a medical practice at 47 Dysart Street, Paran. Is that correct?
That is, sir.
You were the family physician to the defendant and her late husband.
That is correct.
Well then, Doctor, did you examine Mrs. Travers during the past 12 months?
I did.
What was the result of this examination?
Better late than
Mrs.
never,
Travers was
never
pregnant.
Doc.
I see. And what was Mrs. Travers' reaction to this news?
She was delighted. She had often told me how much she wanted a child.
Oh, really, Your Honor? We can't have what the sailor said, you know.
Mr. Proudfoot is quite correct.
No, it's from...
You cannot consider the defendant's second-hand testimony as related by this witness.
It's only hearsay if they says, oh, I heard this person
pregnancy
say it.
was confirmed some 7 months ago.
Yes.
May I draw your attention to the accused? Would you say that she is currently 7 months pregnant?
She obviously is not.
Is it your considered opinion, then, Doctor, that the pregnancy was terminated?
Yes, Mr. Proudfoot. I think the court is a little ahead of you. All the witness is able to tell us is that the accused is, in his opinion, no longer pregnant. This he has done. You cannot ask his opinion as to how this state of affairs came about.
Very good, Your Honor.
If you continue to show such a lack of awareness of the rules of debate, Mr. Wilson, I may have to rule that your client seek other counsel in her own best interests.
I assure the court,
see
Your
what he's
Honor,
doing.
that will not be necessary.
You may continue your examination, Mr. Wilson.
Even though the jury's supposed
Dr.
to
Barrett,
discard
during
that.
the time that you acted as physician for the Travers family, was there ever an occasion that you had to treat Mrs. Travers for any physical injury? Well, Dr. Barrett?
Well, I didn't specifically treat her for any physical injury. But I do recall that when she came to pick up the results of her pregnancy test, Mrs. Travers had a badly contused eye.
A contused eye, Doctor. Is there any other term by which the jury would know of such an injury?
Black eye?
Yes. She had a black eye.
A black eye. Thank you, Doctor. That is all.
I'm surprised that's not been
Dr.
changed to
Barrett.
bruised eye.
Did Mrs. Travers come
This
to you
day
for
and age.
treatment to the injured eye?
No, sir.
Do you know how the eye was injured?
I have an opinion.
The court is not interested in your opinions, Doctor. Do you know how the eye was injured?
No, sir.
Am I to take it that in your capacity as family physician, you were privy to the domestic situation of the accused and her late husband?
To some extent, yes.
Then I ask you, did the accused at any time suggest to you that her husband was a violent or abusive man?
The
It's a
question
doctor,
never
not a
arose.
counsellor.
So, to the best of your knowledge, the Travers were a perfectly normal, happily married couple.
As far as I knew, yes.
Thank you, Doctor.
Well, that didn't go well.
That is all.
Any further questions on redirect, Mr. Wilson?
No, Your Honor. No further questions.
And he knows it.
One driver's license, one leather purse,
By them, address.
1640 cash, one yellow metal watch,
It's gold.
one yellow metal watch.
Well, goodbye. I shall come to visit you.
She won't.
Will it be the same as this place?
Sign for your property, please.
Annika's there, Vera.
What are you doing here?
I just came to say... I was sorry.
Sorry.
Well, I really didn't mean anything.
See, she may have been better off staying there. At least she knows these people.
Sorry, Auntie.
Or
Out to the van.
Or she's just gonna do the same in the next place.
Oh, please. Doesn't matter how hard I try. I'm not really Frankie, am I?
No. Barbara did not deserve a sad tune.
Come on! Jeez, bloody cabbage again. Hey, how's it going, Perry Mason?
Be quiet, Smith. I will not have this discussed until after the trial.
Oh, poor old Vera. Can't stand it when the good guys are winning for a change.
We can't
You
stop
killing 'em
her.
off? Well, don't tell us all in one big rush, will you?
I said I will not have this discussed. Vinegar tips. Anderson, up.
Oh, me, Miss Bennett? What did I do? I didn't do nothing.
What did you just call me?
Miss Bennett. Miss Bennett.
Before that.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah, well, I said to my good friend Lizzie here, I said, could I have the vinegar, please, to go on the cabbage? Goes real good with cabbage, vinegar does. You ought to try it, Miss Bennett.
That fancy lawyer of yours delivering the goods? Hope he's doing more for you than did for Kate here. No, really, love. How is it going?
Just thinking about the doctor.
Well, so far, not so good, Bea.
Look, what are you trying to prove, love? 6 months you've been here and you haven't opened up to anyone. What do you reckon the odds are?
Oh, don't you see, love? With your mum not at home and me having to sell up to pay for
We've
the
got a
trial,
time
I've just
scale at least.
got to take what I can get and go to Sydney.
What, 24 episodes, 6 months?
Do that, love. Not to live in a one-bedroom company flat. Have you start a whole new education system in a new
4
state?
months?
But I want to be with you.
A year?
Will be, love.
Every 4 months?
Every school holidays, I
Every 4
promise you.
episodes? A month?
Oh, look. You've always liked it at Auntie Vivian's. And you and her kids get on like a house on fire. Look, can't you see, darling? I'm trying to give you the best I can.
Writing a book, are we, love?
Oh, letter to my husband. There's a lot of things we must get sorted out.
Yeah, well, I sorted my old man out. I shot him. I will never forget the look on his face. What's the problem?
Ken sold the business. He's moving up to Sydney, and he's put Sarah to stay with an aunt. It's just as if I'm standing in the middle of the world and watching it disintegrate.
Typical bloody male. First sign of trouble, they piss off.
Ken's never been the sort not to face things.
Until the going gets tough, eh, love?
Smith, get back to your own cell. Lights out in 5 minutes.
Yep, we've got to save electric somewhere.
We were only having a chat.
This is a jail, your ladyship, not a conversation club.
So what's happening with
I just
Vera?
wonder if it's all really worth it.
Yes, of course it is. All right, so we had a setback yesterday.
And look, you said you'd think about it.
There's still a lot of shots to be fired in this battle before
What
it's
to do?
over. And we're going to win, aren't we?
If you say so.
Yes, I say so. And before we're finished, we'll have your sentence chopped right back.
God, I hope so.
I believe in you. So how about believing in yourself, huh?
Oh, Mum. I wish you were out of here and things were the way they used to be.
Darling.
I feel such a fool. I told myself I wouldn't cry. All the way here I kept saying, you mustn't cry. You mustn't cry. Now I'm carrying on like an idiot.
Darling, I think you better go now. But promise you'll come and see me often.
I will.
How can she from Ballarat? I don't know how far it is away, but it sounds far.
Why can't I just not want to happen?
I don't know, darling. I don't know.
Mr. Butterfield.
You could tell it was DVD resolution there, and the way she was peeking over there.
I'm Jean Vernon.
The fuzziness on the face.
From the prison? Yeah, Ted Warner told me all about you.
Oh, well, I'll try not to be the monster you're expecting.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
It's just that I have to approve places of employment for those going out on work release.
Well, yeah, I'm a pretty
First
flighty
one.
character, been in business here for 20 years. Always pay me tax debt on the knocker, and I've been known right round the district here as somebody who pays net cash 30 days. If I was you, miss, I wouldn't trust me as far as I could kick me.
Don't misunderstand me, Mr. Butterfield. What I'm really concerned about is the welfare of the prisoner.
Oh, well, that's comforting.
I guess the most important thing is whether you're prepared to take on Lynn.
Oh, she'll be all right with somebody standing over her for a bit. Don't you worry about it with me, miss.
I'm gonna guess he's gonna be quite harsh to begin with. After what her dad says to him.
Oh, come on in, love, and join the workers. You both know Kate, don't you? Well, I've just had her promoted. You better be decent to her or bust both your heads.
Got any smokes? Sure?
Rack off, Doreen. And don't worry about her, love. She's only as tough as we let her be. You ever folded sheets?
Yes, of course I have. Well, I would have thought you had servants to do that, seeing you're so rich.
Oh, I'm
Come
not
on.
rich. Oh, here, get on the end of this.
Not rich?
Be nice,
Old
Lizzie.
vinegar tits is a bit of a stickler if they haven't even done right.
It's awfully good of you taking me under your wing like this.
No, think nothing of it. Makes me look good having a lady like you hanging around.
You're really very kind under all that bluster, aren't you?
Yeah, well, don't let it get round.
And you are Dr. Gregory Miller, the medical officer at the Wentworth Detention
Better
Centre.
late than never.
That is correct.
Did you meet the accused on her admission to Wentworth?
I did.
And what is the procedure in your capacity on such an admission?
A medical examination is given to the prisoner prior to her joining the other prisoners.
Did you conduct such an examination?
Yes, I did.
With what results?
The accused was in good physical health, apart from some apparent burn scars on her back.
What could have caused these burns, Doctor?
To the best of my knowledge, they were caused by someone stubbing out cigarettes on her back.
Have you any idea who was
Wake up, dude.
responsible for that?
I believe it was the defendant's husband, Wayne Travers.
You have stated, Doctor, that the accused was in a state of physical good health at the time of her admission. Well, what can you tell the court about the state of her mental health?
Mrs. Travers was in a state of complete mental and emotional turmoil, subject to fits of intense depression.
As you may know, Doctor, it is customary to lodge an appeal against sentence within 1 month. Is it your opinion that Mrs. Travers was sufficiently mentally competent to have lodged such an appeal within that given time span?
I don't think she was, no.
Was Mrs. Travers pregnant at the time of her admission?
No.
Was there any indication that a pregnancy may have been terminated immediately prior to her admission?
I couldn't say. I
It's
had
been
no
told
reason to
after this.
conduct such an examination.
In your considered opinion, Doctor, is it at all possible that Mrs. Travers' mental state could be attributed to her having had an abortion?
That is entirely possible, yes.
Objection, hearsay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Tell me, Doctor, your qualifications would be the same as any normal general practitioner's?
Certainly hope so.
Psychiatry, I believe, is a highly specialized form of medicine.
It is.
And yet you, a general practitioner, diagnosed the accused's psychiatric problem and formed the opinion that she needed help and that the problems were caused by the breakdown of her marriage.
That's correct.
Did you, in fact, seek special psychiatric care for Mrs. Travers?
No.
And so you, a general practitioner, treated a highly specialized psychiatric condition.
I felt perfectly confident to do so.
The matter of the cigarette burns. Did you, in fact, see Mr. Travers inflicting them upon his wife?
No. Of course not. Mrs. Travers told me that he'd done it.
That's why I claimed
see.
hearsay.
This same Mrs. Travers, this psychiatrically disturbed patient.
I was and still am perfectly prepared to believe her.
I'm sure you are, Doctor. Tell me, did you know Mrs. Travers prior to her admission to prison?
I don't see what that has to do with the matter.
I think the court will find it relevant, Doctor. Did you, in fact, know Mrs. Travers?
Yes, I did.
Quite so. In fact, one could say that prior to her meeting her husband and marrying him, Karen Travers and you were lovers.
I don't see what our personal life has to do with my professional opinions.
Oh, come now, Doctor. If need be, we can call witnesses to the fact that during your student days, you and the defendant were, in fact, contemplating marriage.
That was a long time
Well,
ago.
Mum might be
And
our
you
only
are
hope
asking
here.
this court to believe that you no longer have any, shall we say, tender regard for the defendant?
Of course I do. But if your insinuation is that I am still in love with Mrs. Travers, and that I am perjuring myself and dishonoring my profession in order to protect her, then you are both grossly mistaken and grossly offensive.
I doubt if I am any of these things, Doctor. To be blunt, I submit that you are manufacturing your testimony to protect the woman you still
Objection, the
love.
That is a
doctor's got the
complete
one on
lie.
file.
Mrs. Travers was an emotionally and mentally disturbed woman when she was admitted to prison. I felt pity for her, but I did not, and I do not love her.
He's got to say that, Canon. Come on. He'll make it look so bad if he says, oh yes, I'm still in love with her, I wanted to get off, I'll say anything.
Oh, it's so beautiful here, Miss Vernon. I know I'm going to be happy.
I hope so, Lynn.
Listen, what's he like, Mr. Butterfield?
Oh, he's all right, I think. But you mustn't expect everybody to be as understanding as he is.
Well, I don't get you.
Well, you're going to meet other people here who may be a little bit prejudiced because you're a convicted criminal.
I won't do any harm.
Fine. Just remember to keep you cool.
I'd be keeping my wallet firmly in my pocket and stuff like that, but I would try to speak to them normally.
G'day, Miss
Without
Vernon.
judgment.
I'd like you to meet Lynn
Without knowing
Warner.
the full facts.
Hello, young Lenny.
Hello?
Here we are then, eh?
Yep.
I'm going
I'd
to
like to
expect a
think that
fair bit
anyway.
from you, you know. I mean, anyone who comes to work here gets to work right on time and does a decent day's work for a decent day's pay, right? I don't keep any bludgers on staff.
Oh, no, I wouldn't let you down, Mr. Butterfield, I promise.
You know anything about plants?
Oh, a bit. I worked in the garden at the prison.
Let's see now. What are they and what's wrong with them?
They are flowers and they are
Well-
not healthy.
They're coleus,
Yeah?
and they need thinning out.
Why's that?
Well, because the root system will tangle itself, and they'll wind up strangling each other.
Not bad. She'll do, I reckon.
I hope so.
Funny, you know. She doesn't look at all like a hardened crim, does she?
I don't know. What does a hardened crim look like?
Frankie?
I thought it was the most wonderful news I'd ever had.
Can you tell us why it was such wonderful news?
My husband and I had been drifting apart for months. I thought by having a child, we might be able to bring the marriage back together again.
I see. And your husband, did he share your joy?
No, he didn't. When I told him the news, he became angry, violent. He screamed at me, slapped me across the face.
And that was the black eye to which Dr. Barrett referred in his earlier testimony.
That's right. Yes.
Mrs. Travers, was it unusual for your husband to beat you? Please, I'm afraid you'll have to answer.
If the
for
prosecution
these
would say, did you enjoy it?
No, it wasn't unusual. He was very violent, very cruel.
And yet, you stayed with him.
I was married to him. Married in the church.
Oh, yes, the church. Mrs. Travers, please, could you tell the court what happened when Father Byrne paid a visit to your home?
Bring up how devout she were.
Father Byrne came to see
religiously.
us after one of our arguments. I was terribly upset. He sat and talked to me for a couple of hours and told me that if I decided to have an abortion, in the eyes of God, I'd be committing murder. But I decided to go ahead with it anyway. It was the only way I could keep Wayne. I got the address of a clinic from a friend. I went there and terminated my pregnancy.
Was this an illegal,
It was horrible.
illegal clinic?
As if they were removing some kind of unwanted growth. It hurt then. I think it'll hurt forever.
After the clinic, you then went straight home.
Yes.
Could you tell us, please, what happened then?
I'll never forget. I felt so sick. I felt as if I was going to die. I walked in the front door, heard laughter upstairs. I went upstairs. I opened the door. I saw my husband in bed with another woman. And I went downstairs. And I sat down. I had to collect my thoughts. I saw a knife. I went upstairs with the knife.
Claimed possession by Michael Myers.
The girl ran away. My husband was in the shower. I walked in and I stabbed him. And the water went red. Oh, red.
Not for long, shouldn't have gone down the plug hole.
Your Honor, I have no more questions. But I would ask that the court adjourn at this stage. Mrs. Travers is naturally upset.
Yeah.
That's reasonable, Mr. Wilson.
No questions for you, prosecution.
Mr. Prout, you have any objections?
I have no objections, Your Honor.
All stand. This honourable court now stands adjourned until 3 o'clock. God save the Queen.
King.
Very touching. The jury loved it. I wonder if they'll be as impressed when I've finished with her.
I understand he's just doing his job, but take great pleasure from it? That is more the sign of a sadist rather than someone who's proud of his job. But if he really believes that she's guilty, then yes, I can see some pride behind it. But I see him as one of those lawyers who just want a prosecution regardless. And that is how innocent people get sent to jail. And I pity those people because they have to go through hell in prison, whether they are found innocent in the end or not. And they're mud sticks, you're stuck with that forever. But one thing I do believe is that jury should stop being jury service, it should stop being calling on the public. It should become a proper job with people who's had like training in psychology and things like that. So yes, I believe it should be a paid job. Proper one. Be more fair, people can pick up on what's happening with body language, stuff like that. And they're trained not to follow the heart and the head. Sign out. So I must apologise for that little rant I went on during the credits. I do humbly apologise about that, or just giving my feelings, my thoughts, what I believe should happen. But yes, if people were actually trained to do jury service and it became a paid job, it would be less of, oh, I really want to get this over with, let's just find them guilty and get home. And more, you know, let's give this a fair go, let's look at it how it really is. And I believe a lot of innocent people do get sent to jail because of jury service, rather than the way the lawyers handle it. So hopefully one day the government, well, the governments around the world will see that and just make it a proper paid job. I mean, a 1-year crash course in psychology with maybe a couple of months top-ups every few years. But anyway, back to the show. I don't think it went well for Karen with the doctor, well, both doctors. I don't think it went well at all. I do believe her mum will end up coming in and giving evidence. She'll be the clincher. I'm not saying she'll get away with it completely. I mean, it's still manslaughter. I don't know if crime of passion was a thing back then. She could get a massively reduced sentence, like he said when he was talking to her. So maybe we're going to lose Lynn and Karen at the same time. You know, they came in at the same time. They go out at the same time. So that's possible. I don't know what the hell's going off with Doreen. 1 minute she's acting like a hard nut. The next minute she's like her old self. And then back to a hard nut again. Is she losing it as well? I mean, I know she's grieving over Frankie, but look in the early days with Frankie. She didn't like her. I mean, she said she was scared of her. And then all this happened. Now, I did say in the previous episode, and I still stand by it, that Frankie was okay when she weren't trying to act all hard and stuff like that. She did come across as a kind of a decent human. I mean, yeah, she wouldn't, I don't think she would have thought twice about breaking the law again as soon as she got out. But, well, if she got out again. I mean, I think if she got on the farm with her brother, it wouldn't have lasted long. I do think she would have done something, and I don't mean just violence. She would have done something illegal to get herself put back in. Now, I'm sorry, that is judging somebody. I know people can change the spots, but I don't think Frankie could have done, to be honest with you. The elephant in the room, Monica. I'm not calling Monica an elephant. Now, where is she? I'm sorry, I ask this every episode. I do not recall anything saying she had been transferred or anything like that. The last time I heard she was getting sent to solitary. I've got no idea where she's gone. Is she coming back? Is that it? Is Monica gone? What was the point of her coming in? Apart from to give Marilyn the shop? Was that it? Was that her thing? But I am enjoying this show a lot. I do wish Jean Vernon would get rid of the picture in her office. I wish they would stop using the R word. Apart from that, I am enjoying it. It's a very good show. I am sorry about the blurs I have to do though. It is torture for editing, it honestly is. My software's not, well, my laptop's not that powerful. I can't do too much blurring inside it, so hopefully I can. I can't show that. I can't. It's a thing that we used to have in the 80s. Well, before the 80s as well. But we used to have in the 80s. No one batted an eyelid. It's a picture of this stuffed teddy thing that you could get, like this knitted teddy. But it's not a teddy. And it's something that is greatly frowned upon in nowadays. I think it's more for the name rather than what it is. So yes, I don't really want to be showing that. And I'm dreading when I get to the League of Gentlemen as well. I think series 2 with a certain guy like that as well. So I don't know what to do. I'll see when we get to it. I'll listen to people's opinions. But yes, I want to thank everyone for watching. I gratefully do appreciate it. I love you lots for doing so. If you could please like, comment and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And a follow on Dailymotion, I'd appreciate that too. That's the only place Australians can see this, I'm afraid. If you have already, thank you very much. I love you so much for doing so. I appreciate that as well. Thank you very much. And to my Patreon members, it is you that is bringing the content to me to allow me to bring the content straight back to you. Thank you all ever so much. I love you lots, no matter what tier you are. I honestly do. Extra shows coming sooner than I originally thought. So get ready for those. You're going to have 3 days rather than 1 of exclusive shows per week. So with the shows that cannot get on YouTube or Dailymotion, I'm afraid. So I will keep trying all the time. But I will tell you that tier 1 doesn't get the time limited exclusive that the other tiers get. they get the exclusives after tier 2 and above finish their series. So with that, I shall sign out now and just forget all about that and go on to the next one, and I hope to see you there. Goodbye.